Someone asks you for something. Small or large, it doesn't matter. Before you've even considered whether you actually want to say yes, guilt arrives first. Not guilt for refusing, guilt for merely considering it, for hesitating even half a second before agreeing to something you didn't actually want. So you say yes, almost every time, even when your schedule is already full, even when it costs you something real, even when nobody would blame you for declining. Afterward, resentment quietly builds, aimed at nobody in particular, mostly at yourself. For once again, failing to protect your own limited time and energy. You've read the advice 100 times. Set boundaries, protect your time, and somehow none of it survives contact with an actual request. You know intellectually that no is a complete sentence. Saying it out loud feels like committing some kind of quiet, unforgivable betrayal. That's not people-pleasing exactly. It's something more specific, tied to what your mind believes will happen the instant you actually refuse. Picture an ordinary request. A colleague asks you to cover their shift. You're already exhausted, already stretched thin, already privately dreading the extra hours. Your mouth starts forming the word no. Somewhere between your brain and your voice, guilt intercepts it, replacing the refusal with a reluctant, resigned yes. You spend the rest of the day quietly irritated, rehearsing the version of yourself who calmly declined, wondering why that version never actually shows up. This happens with small requests and large ones equally. Favors, invitations, extra responsibilities. The guilt arrives identically regardless of the actual size of the ask. You've become remarkably skilled at inventing elaborate excuses instead of simply declining directly, as though a fabricated reason feels safer than honest refusal. You draft the excuse mentally, revise it twice, check it for anything that might sound insincere, all before sending a message that could have simply said no. Sometimes you agree, then quietly hope the plan falls through on its own, sparing you from ever having to actually say the word yourself. You notice friends decline things easily without visible guilt, and wonder what internal wiring allows them that freedom you've never quite located inside yourself. You've started keeping a mental tally of everything you've agreed to that you didn't actually want, the list growing longer than you'd like to admit. This isn't simply kindness, it's something more specific, and understanding it starts with understanding what saying no actually represents inside your mind. Researchers use a specific term for part of this pattern: fawning, a stress response built around appeasement, prioritizing others' needs to avoid conflict entirely. This sits alongside fight, flight, and freeze as a genuine survival strategy, one built specifically around maintaining safety through accommodation rather than confrontation. For people who develop this pattern, saying no doesn't register as a simple boundary. It registers as risking disapproval, rejection, or outright conflict. The guilt isn't really about the specific request itself. It's an early warning signal, firing the moment disagreement of any kind becomes possible. This creates a distorted internal equation. Your own needs feel optional, negotiable, disposable, while other people's requests feel weighted with real, immediate urgency. So yes becomes the default setting, not from genuine desire, but from an automatic effort to prevent the discomfort that refusal seems to threaten. Over time, this pattern becomes so practiced that saying yes happens before conscious evaluation even occurs, bypassing the actual decision-making process entirely. The guilt, importantly, isn't proof you're doing something wrong. It's simply the alarm sounding whenever the old appeasement pattern gets interrupted at all. And because the alarm fires so quickly, most people never even noticed there was a choice to be evaluated in the first place. Something particular develops inside people who learn this pattern early. Disagreement, at some point, genuinely felt dangerous rather than simply uncomfortable or awkward. Maybe conflict in your environment escalated quickly, or disapproval carried real consequences, teaching you that accommodation was the safer, more reliable available option. Children in these environments often become finely tuned to others' moods, learning that keeping people comfortable reliably prevented worse outcomes from actually occurring. This creates an equation where your own preferences become secondary data, consistently overridden by the more urgent priority of maintaining everyone else's comfort. The nervous system essentially learns that your wants are negotiable, while other people's wants require immediate, unquestioning compliance to remain genuinely safe. This explains why saying no can trigger physical discomfort, not just emotional guilt. Tight chest, racing heart, an authentic threat response activating. The body doesn't distinguish between a minor social request and genuine danger. Both can trigger the exact same cascade of physical alarm signals. Here's something worth holding on to because we'll return to it directly. This sensitivity to others' needs reflects genuinely sophisticated social awareness, not weakness. As an adult, this often means chronic overcommitment, quiet resentment, and a persistent sense of being responsible for managing everyone else's emotional comfort. You may notice exhaustion build specifically around obligations you never actually wanted, each one accepted to avoid the discomfort of disappointing someone else. Even clearly reasonable refusals can trigger disproportionate guilt because the trigger was never really about reasonableness. It's about the old danger signal. Some people even feel guilty declining requests from complete strangers. The pattern generalizing far beyond the relationships where it originally developed. Notice the person who agrees to extra work projects despite already being overwhelmed, unable to locate the words needed to simply decline directly. There's the friend who attends every single invitation out of guilt, even ones they genuinely dread, unable to imagine a version where they simply stay home. Watch for the one who apologizes extensively before finally, tentatively declining something small, as though refusal itself requires elaborate, ongoing justification beforehand. Notice the person who lends money they can't actually afford, guilt overriding their own genuine financial reality the moment someone directly asks. There's the one who stays on calls far longer than they want, unable to locate a natural, comfortable exit point without appearing rude somehow. Watch for the parent who says yes to every request from their child, terrified that any no might somehow damage the relationship permanently. Notice the employee who takes on tasks outside their role repeatedly, unable to redirect the request without an overwhelming wave of anticipatory guilt. There's the person who agrees to plans while secretly hoping for a cancellation, relief only arriving through someone else's decision, never their own. Watch for the sibling who always volunteers first for family obligations nobody else wants, guilt arriving instantly at the thought of staying quiet. There's the person who says yes to a favor mid-sentence, agreeing before the full request has even finished being spoken out loud. Notice the one who feels guilty taking a sick day they've genuinely earned, imagining co-workers silently resenting the temporary absence. And there's the quiet exhaustion of a calendar, full of obligations nobody actually forced you to accept. Each one agreed to instead of refused. This creates a particular kind of resentment, not toward the people asking, but toward the part of yourself that never learned how to refuse. One thread from earlier deserves closer attention now. This sensitivity to others' needs reflects genuinely sophisticated social awareness, not simple, baseless weakness. Reading a room accurately, sensing disappointment before it fully forms, anticipating exactly what someone needs, that requires real, developed emotional perceptiveness. You didn't become this attuned by accident. You became this attuned because early environments genuinely required careful, constant monitoring of everyone's emotional state. That capacity for attunement isn't the problem. The problem is it currently only runs in one direction, always outward, rarely returning toward yourself. Think of it as a radar system, built with remarkable precision, simply missing one crucial setting. Your own needs were never programmed in. Here's the reframe worth sitting with. You're not simply weak-willed. You're running a finely tuned social radar with no corresponding filter for yourself. The same sensitivity that makes saying no feel dangerous is precisely what makes you remarkably attentive, genuinely caring, and worth having in someone's life. This isn't a flaw requiring elimination. It's a radar that needs one additional setting, including your own needs and what it actually protects. So where does the actual shift begin? It starts with pausing before answering, creating even a brief gap between the request and your response. A simple phrase can hold that gap open. Let me check and get back to you. buying enough space for an actual decision to occur. It means practicing smaller refusals first in lower stakes situations, building tolerance for the guilt without immediately reversing course to escape it. It means noticing that guilt isn't actually evidence of wrongdoing here, simply an old alarm activating whenever the familiar pattern gets interrupted. It means allowing brief discomfort in someone else's reaction without immediately rushing to fix it by reversing your own honest, reasonable answer. It means remembering that most people recover from a simple no far more easily than your anticipatory guilt ever predicts they will. It means noticing which relationships tolerate your honest answers well, and which ones only function when you're constantly, quietly accommodating everything asked. This pattern kept you safe once, in situations that genuinely required careful accommodation. It was intelligent, adaptive, and completely necessary at the time. You don't need to become someone who refuses everything. You simply need refusal to become an option your mind actually considers first. Every small no you tolerate without collapsing teaches your nervous system something new. Disagreement. This time didn't actually lead to disaster. Over time, that evidence accumulates, gradually recalibrating an alarm system that was never wrong to exist, simply outdated in its current settings. You're allowed to disappoint people sometimes. Disappointment is not the same thing as harm, even though your body currently treats them identically. Your calendar, your energy, and your time were never meant to be endlessly available, simply because someone else found it convenient to ask. But your own needs were never actually optional. You're finally allowed to let your radar include yourself in what it protects now, because the goal was never to stop caring about others. It's to finally let that same care extend inward toward yourself too.